Hollywood, the land of dreams, red carpets, and golden statues. But beneath the glittering lights lurked a darkness so deep it shook the industry to its core. One man controlled careers, awards, and fortunes, until the world discovered the predator hiding in plain sight. This is the story of Harvey Weinstein, the scandal that shattered Hollywood, ignited a global movement, and changed the rules of power forever. Hollywood has always dazzled with red carpets, flashing cameras, and Oscar-winning films. But beneath the glamour lies a darkness few dared to speak of. A system of silence, intimidation, and abuse that operated for decades. Harvey Weinstein, the man at the center of this storm, wasn't just any producer. He was the kingmaker of Hollywood, building Miramax and later the Weinstein Company into an empire that dominated award seasons and launched countless careers. Imagine being a young actress, dreams in your hands, and suddenly realizing your fate depends on one man's whims. Films like Pulp Fiction, Shakespeare in Love, and The King's Speech were his masterpieces, earning praise, critical acclaim, and golden statues. But behind the tuxedos, private screenings, and handshake deals, there was a predator operating in plain sight. For years, actresses and assistants whispered warnings. Don't be alone with him. Watch the hotel rooms. Don't trust the promises of roles in exchange for favors. Fear and power protected him. Few dared to speak, and those who tried were silenced with threats, legal teams, and carefully orchestrated public smears. But whispers became headlines in 2017. The New York Times published a devastating exposé revealing decades of harassment and secret payouts, followed by the New Yorker's report by Ronan Farrow with first-hand testimonies from women whose careers and lives had been shaped and scarred by Weinstein's actions. And then came the moment the world couldn't look away. Ashley Judd, Rose McGowan, Gwyneth Paltrow, Angelina Jolie, and countless others told stories of hotel suites, locked doors, threats, and manipulation. The industry trembled. Silence shattered. The tide turned, and a global movement was born. Actress Alyssa Milano's simple tweet, "Me too," went viral, reviving a phrase coined by activist Tarana Burke, and millions of women around the world began sharing their experiences of harassment, assault, and survival. Weinstein's empire crumbled. He was fired from his own company, his name scrubbed from projects, and the courts began to demand answers. Could a man this powerful finally face justice? Investigations unfolded in New York, Los Angeles, and London. One by one, survivors spoke publicly, describing predatory encounters that shocked audiences and revealed a culture of abuse that Hollywood had long ignored. By 2020, Harvey Weinstein was convicted of rape and sexual assault and sentenced to 23 years in prison. The man who once controlled the careers of the most famous actors in the world had become a cautionary tale, stripped of power, influence, and freedom. Yet the story didn't end with him. The scandal unleashed an industry-wide reckoning. Other powerful men faced allegations and resignations, including Kevin Spacey, Brett Ratt, and Les Moonves. What would Hollywood look like if decades of silence were finally broken? Studios revised policies, implementing new protections on sets, hiring intimacy coordinators, and attempting to dismantle decades of complicity. red carpets transformed into stages for activism, with stars dressing in black and turning acceptance speeches into calls for justice. The #MeToo movement expanded beyond Hollywood, influencing politics, corporations, universities, and workplaces globally, igniting debates about power, accountability, and consent. Even as change swept through the industry, the scars remained. Careers were ruined before they could begin. Lives were altered forever, and the cost of silence was laid bare. Could Hollywood truly be reformed, or was this just the beginning of a long road? Harvey Weinstein may sit behind bars, but the echoes of his crimes continue to resonate. A chilling reminder of what unchecked power can do, and what happens when courage finally confronts secrecy. Hollywood may continue to shine with red carpets and flashing cameras, but it will never be the same. The Weinstein scandal exposed the darkness behind the lights, but also ignited a revolution that continues to influence generations. It revealed not just the fall of one man, but the collapse of a system that protected predators for decades. And yet, even after the trials, one question remains: how many more voices are still silenced? The fall of Harvey Weinstein destroyed an empire, but more importantly, it inspired a movement carried by survivors, activists, and ordinary people who refused to be silenced again. Hollywood will never forget, and the world will never see it the same way again. This is the story of the worst Hollywood scandal of all time, a story of power, corruption, courage, and a reckoning that continues to echo around the globe.